Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man podcast. Today's episode is a solo episode. And today I want to give you some tools, some ideas on how you can think about moving into 2024. So, some really basic exercises, some really basic questions that I like to ask myself at the end of every year, and some things that you can ask yourself. And then maybe a more effective plan for implementing changes that you want to see in 2024. Rather than trying to do everything at once, I'm going to give you an idea that helps to figure out which are the most important changes and to focus on making those changes. Um, Focus on making those changes in a way that is more sustainable rather than doing it for a week and then giving up because it's too much. So, first off, I'd recommend that you make sure that you set aside some time where you can really focus on this, where you are not distracted, where you're not with family, where you're not with other people, and you can really get into a headspace in order to think about this and be present and create clarity around your thoughts. Actually, a really good way to do this is to do a yoga session beforehand. So, if you're part of the Manful Yoga members area, do something from the breath series, do something from the stretch and breathe series, do something that's going to be really grounding and really breath focused, body awareness, not too intense, and that's going to help put you in a good state of mind to be able to do these exercises and really think with clarity. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to think about 2023 and put this really simply. Just have a piece of paper and have two sides of the paper. Draw a line down the middle of it, and on the left side of the paper, write down things that you enjoyed doing. Write down things that went well, and then on the right side, you're going to write down things that you did not enjoy doing or things that you did not do well. Okay, so really simple. Just write those things out. And then after that, I want you to also write down what are things that you are currently doing that are wasting time? What are things that you'd rather not be doing? What are things that you you've been doing that just haven't been worth their time? Things that you don't feel good about when you finish doing them, things that you know are not the best use of your time, maybe things that are busy work. They're things that make you feel like you're getting something done, but they're really not helping you get anything done. So I'd write those down as well. Um, and you also want to be positive too. So write down what do you think is the most what things have really brought you joy, what things have you finished and thought, oh, that was a really good, I should do more of that. So I want you to write those things down as well. Okay, so and that's really basic reflection, right? We're not doing anything drastic. I'm not asking you complicated questions here. So just really basic questions you can ask yourself to create some clarity around what went well, what did not go well, what's wasting your time, and what do you want to do more of. All right. And then after you finish that, we're going to go on to thinking about 2024. So the first question that I asked myself is, what do I want to try for 2024? So what are some things that maybe you dabbled in 2023? And what are some things that you've thought about doing for a long time, but you just haven't done them. So I want you to write out those things just to have clarity around what they are. And the more clear that you can be on what those things are, so not just writing out, you know, the subject of whatever it is, but actually going into detail on writing what it is that you want to try for 2024. Try to visualize what that activity looks like, visualize what the result of that is. Try to get as clear as you can with those things. And I find that as I'm writing these things out, the ones that are the most important are the ones that I finish writing and I just feel something that's like, oh wow, that really speaks to me. So when you write out something and you notice, oh, this is really important to me, then make a big star by that one. I also wrote, what are my goals for 2024? So, um, write out your goals. So for me, a lot of this is Manful Yoga related. You know, we want to have more memberships. We want to have better relationships with the other brands that we work with. I want to do more in-person events. I want to do more retreats. I want to expand what we offer. So these are things that I've written down, and you can write those down. And then if you're feeling ambitious and you want to go further, then you can write out ideas that you have. What are specific? A lot of the things that I wrote here are aspirations. They're not specific activities or tasks. So, for example, when I wrote down more membership, a more larger membership, or more membership signups, that's not an action, that's an outcome. So, what are the activities, or what are the ideas, what are the initiatives that I can try to get us more members? So, from there, I'm going to write things like maybe I'll start doing more live events on social media, or maybe I'll launch a new feature within the members area that's going to make people more likely to tell their friends, or maybe I will reach out to other communities where there are other men who would be likely to do manful yoga, and start up conversations with them. So those are things that I wrote out, and you can take your own things, your goals, and then write out what are some different ways that you could achieve those goals. And then I also wrote out, those are professional goals, but I also wrote out my personal goals. So for me, I wrote out things like I want to have better emotional wellness. So for me, I'm going to try out a new therapist. I've been working with the same therapist for 5 years. I feel like I've stalled a little bit. So I'm going to try out a new therapist. I also wrote men's groups or men's events. So things where going into a person, having conversation with other men in a maybe formalized setting where the expectation is to be vulnerable and to have difficult conversations. I wrote doing sauna more frequently. I feel great when I use my sauna, but I don't always do it as often as I'd like. So I wrote that in. I wrote cold plunge on non-lift days. So I was really good about doing my cold plunging from January all the way through November. And then this month I kind of fell off. So I want to make sure that I'm rededicating myself to that habit, because I notice that I have better stress levels throughout the day, and I'm just more controlled when I do my cold plunging. I wrote meditation practice. So I want to have a more formalized meditation practice, not just sitting and practicing gratitude and also thinking, but actually meditating, actually doing the practice of meditation. Going to bed earlier. This is another thing that I wrote. We had a baby. We had Maylee in March of 2023. So she's about 8 months old. And my wife, I feed Maylee. I do what's called a dream feed for all the dads out there. If you know what a dream feed is, basically you feed your baby while she is sleeping. And this happens around 10 o'clock. And then after that, I usually do my gratitude practice, and I don't end up going to sleep until 11:45 or 11. So I'm really not getting enough sleep right now. So one goal for me is to start doing my gratitude practice before I go upstairs and feed Maylee, and then do my reading after I feed Maylee, and then hopefully I can be asleep by 10:30. So those are things that I wrote out. They're not, this is really simple stuff that I wrote out. I also wrote, what does your ideal day look like? So actually go through and write out an ideal schedule of what your life looks like. I think there's a couple ways to do this. I think number one, you could write like, what's your ultimate like dream version of this? Like if you had no rules whatsoever, and no obligations, just the ones that you choose. So write what that looks out like, your dream day, but also write out a realistic one that satisfies some of your personal needs and some of your values. And you look at it and you think, oh, this is realistic, and I would feel good about doing this. So I think it's a good idea to write out your ideal day. That's a really good thing to do. And then I would also write out, what are your values for 2024? Get clear on your values and what the expression of those values look like. So for me, I've had a pretty solid gratitude practice for the last couple months, and I've gotten really clear on what my values are. So for me, being present is a really important value of mine. So there's a lot of things that come from that. Being present means being in flow, being dedicated to what I'm doing, being fully immersed in what I'm doing. It also means um, putting myself in activities that allow myself to be present and doing and taking care of myself both physically and mentally so that I can be present, so that my mind isn't wandering. So being present is a value of mine for 2024. Being grateful is a value of mine. So practicing gratitude throughout the day, having a really dedicated gratitude practice at the end of the night, but also just practicing gratitude throughout the day. Authenticity is another value of mine for 2024. And for me, that means expressing truth, both in just saying what just telling the truth, but going further to not holding things in. So, especially in the close relationships that I have, not holding things in, not letting things be left unsaid, because that leads to divides, that leads to a lack of connection. So, authenticity is a value of mine for 2024. Self-care, this has always been a value of mine, but I really want to do this for 2024 as well, and make sure that I am prioritizing self-care, because it makes me better at everything that I do. It makes me better at being with my family. It makes me better with work. I'm less stressed. I feel better. So that's a value of mine. And I also wrote some values for my work life. So for me, I'm going to focus on creating space. For me, this is really focusing in on the vision of Manflow Yoga and focusing on the content creation and doing less managing within the business, because we have a great team. We have people that I know can do that. For me, that's just about letting go of control and letting the people that I've put into the proper places do their jobs. So what is the highest and best use of my time? That's another value that I have for work for 2024. So making sure that I'm doing things that are the best use of my time. Going back to the little prompt that I had before with what am I wasting time with in 2023, I realized that checking social media and checking statistics and checking sales, those things aren't actually, it doesn't really change my behavior on a day-to-day basis. Do I want to look at those trends month to month, maybe every couple of weeks? Sure. But as far as going in and looking, every few hours at what's happening, that's busy work that isn't actually leading to any sort of outcome. So that's something that doesn't fit into my work values of 2024. So it's something that I want to take out. So um, that's that's what I did. That's literally all my journaling has just been that. It's just been trying to get more clear on the basic things. What was good? What was not good? What do you want to do? What do you not want to do? And then the final part of this is to look back at some of your goals for 2024. So look back at the things that you wrote down. And for some of you guys, that might be, work out every day, eat a healthy dinner 4 out of 5 nights of the week. It could be going for a walk every day for 30 minutes. And I want you to go through that, and I want you to figure out, just kind of numerically rank them in terms of what is going to be the most helpful and have the most impact, the most overall impact in all aspects of your life. So, what is going to have the most benefit, and rank them from most benefit to least benefit. And then I want you to only focus on one new practice or one new habit at a time. So for me, going to bed earlier, that was the thing that stuck out to me as the most important thing. Because if I sleep better, I have a better day, I have more energy, I have more willpower, I have energy for my workouts. So that's really important to me. So for me, my primary goal for 2024, the first thing that I'm going to do is make sure that I'm sleeping 8 to 8.5 hours a night, which means going to bed at 10:30 so that I can wake up at 6:30 or 7 and feel rested and feel ready to do all the things that I need to do. So before I go through all these other things that I wrote down, like not medication, meditation practice, saunaing more, um, taking personal time on the weekends, before I focus on any of these other things, I am going to focus on getting my sleep dialed in. And so that's what I want you to do as well. Instead of looking at all these different things and saying, oh, I got to do all these things at once, just choose one thing at a time. Spend a week or two on that, dialing it in, and then add something else. And that's going to be way more effective and way more effective from a long term standpoint than is trying to add all of those things at once to your schedule. So, one thing at a time, once you have that figured out, add in something else. And I think you're going to be really happy with that. Um, I think one thing to keep in mind with this is that you're doing this for the rest of your life, ideally, right? These are not things that you're not just doing these things for a week and then quitting. So think about it from that perspective. It's not I need to get all of these things figured out by next month. It is I need to get these things somewhat implemented over the next year. So if you give yourself a longer timeline to implement these things and you do them slowly and more manageably, they're going to stick way more than if you try to ram them all into your schedule at once. So, and this is the exact same thing that I'm doing. And I will say, I admit, I fall into the trap of thinking like, oh, I'm a disciplined person. I'm, I'm above average at implementing this stuff. So I'm going to do three things at once. And whenever I do that, I fail because I already have so many other things going on. So, I'm just saying I fall into this trap as well. And you might be falling into the trap of thinking, oh, I can do three things at once, three new things at once. And maybe you can, but it's going to be a lot easier if you don't. So just do one thing at a time. And then I'd also, I think the last thing I'll recommend here is creating space, doing less. This is the topic of my last solo podcast. Go check that out, and I think it might be helpful for you to think about how you can do less and what you can take away, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to add more and do it in a way that feels sustainable. So, hope you guys had a happy holidays. Happy New Year. Thank you for being part of the Better Man podcast. Thanks for listening. I'm really grateful for all of you guys. I love getting emails. I love getting messages from people who commend me for the topics that I put out or for my vulnerability in these podcasts. And I sincerely hope it's helping you with your own life, even if it's just helping you to relate to somebody who's going through the same things. I hope that's helpful. And I hope that you're using some of these strategies and tools. And if you're listening to this and you're not getting much out of it, then I hope you find another podcast that goes really well for you. But I think what's been really helpful for the majority of the people that I get messages from about the podcast is that it's helping to create some sort of sense of, oh, I'm not the only person going through this. And that really helps make these struggles a lot easier to go through. And I hope that is the case for you as well. So, if you're not already doing Manful Yoga, we are doing a New Year's challenge starting Monday, January 8th. We're doing a program called the Better Day series. It's a really solid program that combines overall fitness, strength, flexibility, balance with body awareness and breathing. And it's just a really good way for you to put yourself into a good physically and mentally positive state to start the day and have a better day, hence the name Better Day series. So we'll be doing that as a community in the Manful Yoga members area. You can sign up at manfulyoga.com/join and get on our email list if you want to know about promotions when those go live. If you get on the emails pretty quick here, you might be able to get in for the tail end of a special deal that we're running specifically only to our email list. I won't talk about it publicly, but that's going to be happening now through the 2nd, January 2nd. So jump on the email list at the link in the description of the show notes, and you'll get on, hopefully you'll get an email for that deal going on now. And that's it. So guys, thanks for watching. Lastly, I do plan on doing a live broadcast on the Manful Yoga YouTube channel. So that should be on New Year's Day sometime. I haven't picked a time yet, honestly, but youtube.com/manflow yoga. And it should pop up somewhere in the live section there. So make sure to subscribe there if you haven't already. All right. That's it, guys. Hope you're having a great time off. If you do have time off, happy holidays, happy New Year. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.
If you like that episode, check out this other one right here. I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you haven't subscribed, click this subscribe button over here, and you can listen to the full episodes on any major podcasting platform. Full details below in the description.